When I was forced to propose to Neville Payton, I caught a glimpse of his WhatsApp group chat. If she dares to mention marriage, I'll dump her immediately. I blinked, my heart suddenly leaping with excitement. Each of Neville's ex-girlfriends had received a hefty settlement upon breaking up. After 3 years of waiting, it was finally going to be my turn. Ding! This novel reminds you to click the subscribe button in the bottom right corner to read the complete novel. It was the 3rd year of my relationship with Neville Payton. Suddenly, my mom called to pressure me about marriage. Sophia, when are you and Neville planning to get married? Neville doesn't have any plans to propose to me at the moment. I frowned, feeling extremely annoyed. My mom persisted, if he's not proposing, why can't you take the initiative? You're almost 28. What you need to do is hurry up and marry Neville. For a woman, no career is more important than marrying a good husband. Remember when I was ill? If it wasn't for Neville finding a doctor to operate on me, I might have died. And your dad's company would have gone bankrupt without Neville's help. Neville is such a good man, you absolutely can't let him slip away. When it's time for a woman to take initiative, you need to step up. After hanging up the phone, I sat on the sofa, dazed for a long while. Until Neville came in, his strong arms wrapping around my waist, startling me. As I looked up, that handsome face that once made me swoon slowly came into focus. His beautifully shaped thin lips drew close to mine. As our breaths mingled, I caught a whiff of rich rose fragrance that didn't belong to him. I had smelled this scent on him for 3 consecutive days now. Yet when he left in the morning, he still had his usual fresh jasmine scent. I thought about this as I reclined on the sofa. Neville leaned in close to my ear, his voice husky with desire. Am I not kissing you deeply enough? What's got you so distracted? I didn't want to deal with him and kept my eyes closed without responding. When Neville tried to go further, I stopped his hand from moving downward. I'm on my period today. My cycle was always very regular. But Neville didn't care about me, so naturally he wouldn't remember. He frowned and clicked his tongue, getting up swiftly. Soon after, the sound of running water came from the bedroom's ensuite. I adjusted my collar that had been pulled open and let out a long sigh. My eyes scanned the room and landed on his mobile phone left on the sofa. The screen suddenly lit up, displaying a new message. I picked up the phone. It was someone tagging him in his group chat with his mates. Just let us know if you're breaking up, I quite fancy her type. My heart suddenly skipped a beat. Listening carefully, I could still hear the continuous sound of water from the bathroom. I opened his group chat. Neville, how come you've suddenly changed? You've been with this girlfriend for 3 years. He's probably planning to settle down and get married. What marriage? I have no such intention. In my eyes, she's just something to pass the time with. You might not have intentions, but the girl might. TCH, if she dares to bring up marriage, I'll dump her immediately. A screen full of LOL followed. And then there was the message that had just popped up. I blinked, my previously irritated mood suddenly becoming elated. I'd heard that each of Neville's ex-girlfriends received a huge breakup fee as compensation when they split. My mom was right. When it's time for a woman to take initiative, she really should step up. I think it's time for me to propose to Neville. The reason I started dating Neville was purely because I was too much of a suck-up. 3 years ago, Nancy and I partnered to open a game studio. Neville was one of the investors Nancy brought in. In the early stages of our business, facing investors, Nancy and I both sucked up to the extreme. Because I was so good at reading people, I sucked up slightly more than Nancy. Neville misunderstood that I was pursuing him. At a dinner party, I, as usual, fended off drinks all night for Neville, who couldn't hold his liquor. On the way to drop Nancy and me home, he suddenly spoke. Aren't you tired of chasing me for so long without getting a response? I was dizzy from drinking and asked confusedly. What? Just as the traffic light turned red, Neville turned to look at me. His face, which could make one's soul tremble, was filled with undisguised arrogance. You don't need to be shy, many people like me, and many pursue me. I immediately realized Neville had misunderstood and started to explain. You've misunderstood. The next second, Nancy, who had passed out on my shoulder, pinched the soft flesh of my waist. The pain instantly reminded me that Neville was our investor. So, I fell silent. When Neville parked the car in the underground garage of the apartment complex, he placed both hands on the steering wheel, his black hair casually falling on his forehead, sharp eyebrows above pitch-black eyes, his exquisite face looking unruly and casual. In the night, he chuckled and advised, "You should know I've had many girlfriends. And you also know there's someone I've always kept in my heart. I won't accept you, so give up." I didn't want to lose his investment, so I continued to remain silent. However, this silence turned me from a humble party in a city drama into a lovesick puppy in a tacky love story. Nancy wasn't wrong, anyway. Neville had already rejected me. I just believed her nonsense and continued to please Neville as a humble party. But one day, Neville's brain suddenly malfunctioned. He unilaterally announced that he had accepted my pursuit. Nancy said again, "It's okay, his longest relationship record is 3 months. And all his ex-girlfriends got a large sum of breakup fee after splitting up." Thinking about Neville's incomparably handsome face, those six-pack abs and slim waist, the huge breakup fee, and my parents' constant urging for me to go on blind dates, I admit I was tempted. Half-heartedly, I agreed to Nancy's bad idea. But 3 years have passed. My mom has started urging me to get married. Neville still hasn't dumped me, nor has he shown any substantial cheating behavior. Even his legendary soulmate in Germany hasn't appeared. To be fair, in these 3 years, apart from not loving me, Neville has done well in his boyfriend duties. Hardworking in bed, presentable outside. When my mom was ill and there were no hospital beds, he sorted everything out with one phone call. When my dad's company was on the brink of bankruptcy, he helped and invested a sum of money. Everyone around me is talking about how good he is, saying he's worth me putting aside my pride and chasing him for so long. They all hope I can marry him, even if he can't handle boundaries between men and women well, and has major flaws in relationships. But they're going to be disappointed. After I propose, he'll only dump me, leaving me heartbroken, crying my eyes out while holding onto a huge breakup fee. After Neville went to sleep, I pulled out my phone and checked eBay. My bank account had nearly 8 figures in it, but I still hesitated to buy a £99 ring. As I wavered, I remembered his disparaging comments about me in the lads' group chat, and the unfamiliar woman's perfume on him. I immediately closed eBay and switched to Vint. After carefully selecting a £9.99 ring, I finally went to sleep, feeling satisfied. I set the proposal date on Neville's birthday. I arranged a party at his seaside villa. To make this proposal perfect, I secretly notified each of his friends, cordially inviting you all to Neville's birthday celebration this Saturday, and to witness our love coming to fruition. Shortly after sending the group message, I received a string of question marks. I chose to reply to the one with the biggest mouth among his mates. "Yes, I'm planning to propose to Neville at the birthday party. Remember to keep it a secret for me." The big mouth truly lived up to his reputation. The night before his birthday, Neville looked at me with a very complicated expression. All evening, he hovered around me, seeming to want to say something but holding back. I knew he wanted me to ask him what was wrong, so he could casually bring up the topic of not considering marriage. But I couldn't play into his hands. I stood on my tiptoes to kiss his cheek, coaxing, "Darling, shall we?" Neville's body stiffened, and for the first time, he pushed me away despite never refusing such things before. "Didn't you say you were very tired recently?" I nodded, showing disappointment on my face. "All right then, I'll go to sleep first." I lifted the duvet, covered myself, and quickly closed my eyes. About 10 minutes later, rustling sounds came from the room. I secretly opened my eyes. Neville was bent over, searching through my dressing table. After a few minutes, he picked up his phone and left the room. I got up and went to the door. Neville was sitting in the living room, talking to someone on the phone. I couldn't find the ring at home. "Are you sure she's going to propose tomorrow?" I don't know what was said on the other end, but Neville visibly became agitated. If she dares to force marriage on me in public, I'll break up with her right there, letting her lose face in front of everyone. Hearing this, I returned to bed and lay down comfortably. That Saturday, I opened the parcel delivered by the property manager, took out the ring, and drove to the mansion. No flowers, no gifts. I went to celebrate Neville's birthday with a sincere heart. That evening, many people came to the party. All those in the know looked at me with strange expressions. Pity, contempt, amusement. They made no attempt to hide their spectator-like gazes. Eyes fixed firmly on me. Neville was the same, though his face showed a bit more conflict and reluctance. When the 8-tier cake was brought out, I lit the candles and said with a smile, "Darling, happy birthday. Make a wish." Neville gave me a complex look and blew out the candles in one breath. He said pointedly, "My greatest wish is to get through this evening peacefully." Unfortunately, his wish was destined not to come true. The next second, I got down on one knee before him and said passionately, "Neville, I love you. Will you marry me?" The scene erupted in an uproar. In my peripheral vision, those in the know all had as expected expressions. Neville, however, stood rigid and motionless. No one in the crowd cheered for me to say yes. There was only a wave of sneers. I timely revealed an embarrassed expression. I looked at Neville anxiously, hoping he would help me out of this awkward situation. Neville didn't care about me, so naturally, he wouldn't protect me either. He remained silent for a moment, then smiled faintly. "Before we started dating, I told you I had someone I liked, didn't I?" "I know, but you came to like me later. Otherwise, why would we date for 3 years? I think it's time for us to get married." Although Neville had never said he liked me, as expected, Neville denied it. There was no liking. "I thought you knew our relationship was just for fun." My face instantly turned pale, but my fingers could tremble. My teeth could bite my lower lip. My voice could be choked with sobs. "Neville, what are you saying?" Neville shook off my hand holding the ring, his voice cold. "I mean, you've crossed the line. I've never loved you. We're over." The ring fell to the ground with a clang. I raised my hand to wipe my eyes, shedding tears of embarrassment. I stared at Neville stubbornly, my eyes wide, begging him not to treat me like this. But Neville just turned his back on me indifferently. Amidst the laughter of the crowd, I couldn't bear it anymore and stumbled out of the mansion. The chili is so spicy, how do I stop these tears? Also, how much is the breakup fee? After the protagonist of the failed proposal drama left in tears, the partygoers began to discuss shamelessly. To be fair, Neville's girlfriend was quite pretty, with a nice figure too. Of course. Why else would Payton date her for 3 years if she wasn't a stunner? TSK, too bad she's out of luck. Proposing to Payton right when you know who came back to the country. That one's the apple of Payton's eye. To avoid any misunderstanding with his true love, he naturally had to cut all ties with her. As they chatted, someone who had just arrived at the party, after getting off a plane, harboring ulterior motives for years, called out to Neville, "I'm in need of a companion lately. You don't mind if I pursue your ex-girlfriend, do you?" Before Neville could answer, the friends around burst into laughter. "Mr. Cargill, are you serious?" "Of course, did you think I was joking in the WhatsApp group?" Stephen Cargill looked at Neville's displeased expression and smiled faintly. I don't think Neville would mind. After all, his true love returned just 3 days ago. Following Stephen's gaze, Elsie Thornton appeared at the party, wearing a passionate red dress, swaying gracefully. The scene fell silent for a moment, and those who knew Neville's feelings looked towards him. Under the dazzling colored lights, she smiled brilliantly and walked towards Neville. "Neville, happy birthday!" Neville smiled and said thank you. But in his heart, there wasn't the joy he had imagined. He had deliberately orchestrated this breakup scene for the girl he had secretly loved for years to see. Yet his mind kept replaying the image of Sophia running out in tears. When his gaze inadvertently swept over his good mate Stephen Cargill, Neville's eyes darkened for a moment. and an inexplicable irritation rose in his heart. He couldn't help but think to himself, what if Stefan really pursued Sophia? The next second, he firmly denied it. It wouldn't happen, Sophia loved him so much. Besides, breaking up with her was just a temporary measure. Stefan, standing nearby, was unaware of Neville's current thoughts. He swirled his glass, hiding in a corner, smiling as he watched the perfect couple before him. He thought to himself, Neville had better be locked in with Elsie for life. Only then would the 2 years he spent suppressing his jealousy to get close to Neville not be in vain. Yes, ever since he saw Sophia again, he knew he had to befriend Neville. He wanted to have Sophia. I returned to the house I shared with Neville. I began packing my belongings. This diamond necklace must be packed. That limited edition handbag couldn't be left behind. Oh, and that Patek Philippe watch. Other stubborn heroines might not take these, but I'm not like them. I'm a woman with a high sense of self-worth. If it was given to me, it's mine. I won't leave anything behind. After packing, I dragged my suitcase towards the door. Then, I bumped into Neville, who was coming in. He stood in the entryway, hands in his pockets, staring intently at me. Shouldn't he still be enjoying his party? I gripped the handle of my suitcase tighter. Neville's eyes darkened as he questioned, "Where are you going? Another business trip? Is it necessary to bring so much luggage for a trip?" He was calm and composed, as if nothing had happened. As if he wasn't the ex-boyfriend who, 2 hours ago, had rejected my proposal and publicly announced our breakup. There was nothing left to say. I pulled my suitcase towards the door. As I passed Neville, he suddenly grabbed my suitcase. I didn't know what had gotten into him. I looked up, polite and courteous. "Is there something you need?" Neville's breath caught, his chest heaving. Suddenly, his tone softened. "I'm sorry about tonight, but I didn't mean to break up with you." "Don't be angry." "Break up?" "But he didn't mean to?" My expression nearly faltered as I reflexively said, "So you're not planning to pay the breakup fee? Why do others get breakup fees after dating for just a month, while I get nothing after 3 years?" In an instant, Neville's expression turned ugly. His handsome face contorted as he asked incredulously, "You were only with me for the money?" Our relationship started due to a misunderstanding. But after 3 years, I'm not made of wood. 6 months ago, my parents hinted on the phone about visiting Neville's parents. We were having dinner at a restaurant when he heard it. He said nothing, just gave a meaningful smile. That's when I knew Neville had never loved me. I won't love someone who doesn't love me. So I fell in love with his money instead. With tears in my eyes, I smiled bitterly. "What else? Are you going to marry me?" As I spoke, tears fell. I wiped my face roughly and said calmly, 3 days ago, you had a strange rose scent on you. Is it a new girl? Or your long-lost love? Or perhaps a new employee at your company?" When I mentioned the long-lost love, Neville's eyelashes fluttered. So it really was his old flame. I gave a bitter smile and pulled my suitcase towards the door. Breaking up is good, it makes room for your true love. I'm sensible enough to leave first. Remember to transfer the breakup fee to my account. Neville took a deep breath and blocked the door. Today's breakup was just an act for her. I don't want you to leave. Everything will remain the same between us. For the first time, I witnessed Neville's shamelessness. I laughed angrily and slapped him across the face. You break up with me to make me your mistress? Keep dreaming. With a red handprint on his face, Neville's expression turned livid. Don't be ungrateful. Once you leave, there's no coming back. As he said this, he looked agitated and kicked my suitcase violently. The suitcase wasn't properly closed. All the gifts he had given me spilled out onto the floor. Among them was a pair of clay figurines. We had them made last year during a trip to a small town, modeled after us. In the brightly lit night market of the ancient town, I dragged the uncomfortable Neville to sit on old-fashioned wooden stools. The old craftsman who made the figurines cheerfully praised us. You two make such a handsome couple. Let Grandpa make you a pair of figurines to ensure your love lasts forever. The old man's craftsmanship was good, but his judgment wasn't. Neville and I wouldn't last. The clay figurines he made were now completely shattered. A relationship that began with a mistake ended in ruins. Just like these little clay figures. I should have let go long ago. I bent down to put everything except the clay figurines back into the suitcase. After closing the suitcase, I looked up at Neville and said softly, "I won't come back. It's all over." With a loud bang, he slammed the door so hard it shook. Neville left without looking back. I let out a sigh of relief and sat down on the floor, relaxed. After a moment's thought, I called Nancy. "Can you assign me as the manager for the city's branch company?" But that would mean a long-distance relationship with Neville. The manager needs to be there for at least 6 months. It's fine. We've already broken up. The night I arrived in City S, I received a text message about a deposit to my bank account. An 8-figure breakup fee was indeed astronomical. I counted the zeros after the transfer amount and laughed for quite a while. Before my smile could turn sour, I began researching online how to become a qualified ex-partner. The most authoritative answer on Quora was, treat yourself as if you're dead and cut off all contact with your ex. I blocked Neville's number and deleted him from WhatsApp. After a moment's thought, I also unfollowed him on TikTok. Just as I finished, TikTok suddenly recommended a video to me. In a luxurious mansion, under dazzling lights, a handsome man wore a bespoke black suit. He elegantly held a champagne flute in one hand, the other casually tucked in his pocket. Amidst the noisy environment, he exuded an aura of irritation and low spirits. Even with a scowl on his face, his every move revealed an enviable air of languid nobility. However, at the height of the festivities, the crowd surrounding him suddenly parted. A stunning woman in a red dress approached him at the center. She spoke with a radiant smile, saying something inaudible. The previously irritated man's face broke into a slight smile. The video was posted by Neville's friend. I instinctively glanced at the video's caption, "A match made in heaven." Then I noticed the tags. Overcoming obstacles. Long-awaited reunion. Rekindled love. So this was Neville's long-lost flame from Germany. No doubt the rose fragrance on him was hers as well. I followed the crowd and liked the video, commenting congrats. Then, I closed my phone, bored. A momentary misunderstanding, a 3-year relationship. I was calmer than I had imagined. Even though not long ago, Neville seemed to love me in others' eyes. Though aloof, he would pick me up from work. He disliked traveling, but would accompany me wherever I wanted to go. He wasn't fond of public displays of affection. But when I wanted to kiss him, he would take the initiative and lean in first. When we first got together, I admit I didn't have feelings for him. Girls often fall in love through companionship. A year later, when I noticed how he treated me differently from others, I fell for him. I thought he would fall for me the same way I fell for him. Unfortunately, he didn't. Fortunately, I love money more. Everything worked out just fine. I closed my eyes and had a pleasant dream. It was the 7th day since Elsie had returned to England, and she organized a gathering with friends. Neville also attended. Elsie had long been Neville's unattainable dream girl. Whenever Elsie appeared, Neville would always be by her side. If she needed anything, he was always there. The only time he couldn't be there was at his recent birthday party. That day, Neville broke up with Sophia in front of Elsie. After Sophia left, Neville seemed distracted. He held Elsie as they danced. Despite his usually excellent dancing skills, that night he stepped on Elsie's toes multiple times. After one dance ended, he made an excuse about work and left early. He drove along familiar streets. A friend called him. "You're not regretting breaking up with Sophia, are you?" Neville denied it, not at all. He loved Elsie, after all. Sophia was just someone to pass the time with. But 3 years was enough time for Sophia to leave an impression on his heart. Neville felt a bit reluctant to let go. He thought, Sophia had been with him for so long. He should treat her better. Perhaps, keep her secretly in his flat. Lost in thought, he returned to the house they had shared for almost 3 years. He wanted to share the good news with Sophia that they wouldn't be apart. But Sophia refused. She even asked for a breakup settlement. While Neville was lost in thought, Elsie noticed. She reached out and took his hand resting on his knee, smiling as she brought up the topic they had been discussing earlier. Neville, they say the houses on Regal Residential Street are very livable. Is that why you often stay there? Neville thought about the unremarkable shopping area around that house, the landscaping that didn't match the property value, and the mediocre property management services. Compared to other better residences, he didn't like it that much. He often stayed on Regal Residential Street simply because Sophia liked it there. Neville nodded absent-mindedly. Elsie hinted with a smile. I'd like to move there too. Do you have any recommendations? Their friends started teasing. What recommendations? Just move in together already. Elsie looked at Neville coyly, not denying it. Let Elsie move into the house he shared with Sophia? Neville felt some resistance. He smiled gently at Elsie and said, all right. He decided to have his secretary purchase another flat in that neighborhood tomorrow. After the gathering ended, Neville took Elsie back to his flat in the city center. Elsie and he were entangled in bed for a long while. Afterwards, Neville's body was satisfied, but his heart felt empty. He missed Sophia. He wondered if she regretted breaking up with him. At 3 in the morning, Neville's longing for Sophia reached its peak. Ignoring Elsie sleeping soundly in his arms, he got out of bed. Leaving Elsie's calls behind, he drove away. The roads were empty, with only a few cars. He drove along familiar streets, thinking about what to say when he saw Sophia. Coax her with a few words, buy her some gifts? Before he could decide, he had already arrived. After hesitating for a while, he opened the door, and an empty atmosphere greeted him. Just a few steps in, Neville's foot stepped on something. He looked down to see the little clay figurine that had been broken that day. Neville suddenly panicked. He went into the bedroom, calling Sophia's name loudly. There was no one in the room, and no response. Time in the flat seemed to have stopped at the moment he left after their argument. There was an indescribable pain in his heart. Sophia truly wanted to break up with him this time. By the third day in City S, my rejected proposal was secretly recorded and uploaded to TikTok. Inexplicably, it went viral, garnering over 1 million likes. The comments seemed to be controlled, uniformly criticizing me. Netizens even gave me the nickname Desperate Dater. I wasn't upset, I was even a bit excited. Just as I was about to contact Nancy, she called me right on cue. Sophia, we're in for a windfall. Our new game is about to launch, and you've brought in the heat. I've already had people subtly spread the word that the Desperate Dater has a game coming out. There'll surely be loads of people checking it out. Either to mock you for being all looks and no brains, or to sympathize with you for being wronged. Looks like we'll save a fortune on marketing, haha. I barely managed to suppress my smirk as I reminded her indirectly. Nancy, this buzz came from my rejected proposal. I'm still heartbroken, you know. Can't you show a little sympathy? Nancy scoffed, then reluctantly said after a moment. How about I transfer 1/3 of the saved marketing budget to your account? I immediately perked up. Thank you, Nancy. After a bit of banter, Nancy finally brought up Neville. Are you really not the least bit fond of Neville Payton? Handsome, fit, and attentive. What woman wouldn't like that? I let out a wistful sigh. But he's tainted now. He's not good enough for me anymore. Nancy let out a hearty laugh. I'm glad you see it that way. Oh, and let the video circulate for a few more days. The company will clear things up for you in a couple of days. And we'll promote our game launch at the same time. After hanging up, I received a WhatsApp message from Stefan Cargill. The video was spread by some posh lads who were there. Want to clear it up? I declined, leave it be. Let it simmer for a couple of days. I want to promote our new game launch. 2 days later, Nancy found someone to leak my position in the company, as well as information about the game that was about to be launched. Curious netizens flooded the company's social media accounts. Your company hired a desperate girl. Isn't a public proposal just forcing someone into marriage? It's disgusting when someone makes a public confession or proposal without the other person's consent, regardless of gender. This desperate girl has caused such a negative impact on your company. Are you sure you won't fire her? Forget about the game launch, fire the desperate girl first. Negative publicity is still publicity. And our company became the talk of the town. Nancy felt the timing was right. One night, she arranged for someone to leak the group chat of Neville's friends. It turned out that Neville, the one who was proposed to, knew about my plan from the beginning. He didn't stop it and even gathered many people to watch the embarrassing spectacle of me as the proposer up close. The tide of public opinion suddenly turned. Netizens then dug up information about the disparity between my and Neville's social status. Most people tend to sympathize with the underdog. For a while, there were fewer people criticizing me. At the same time, the company reposted a video of Neville's long-awaited reunion with Elsie, which was previously shared by Neville's friend. The scene in the video matched the one from my proposal, and it was on the same day. Feeling used, netizens turned their anger towards Neville and Elsie. They found Neville and Elsie's social media accounts and bombarded them with insults. Words like scumbag and homewrecker frequently appeared in their comment sections. Neville and Elsie were completely humiliated online and had to deactivate their accounts. Meanwhile, curious netizens downloaded and tried the game I was responsible for. In this farce, I came out on top from beginning to end. As for Elsie being ordered to leave the country to avoid the backlash, and Neville being pushed out of his position as heir by his older brother. Who cares? The first 3 months in City S were hectic. When things finally slowed down, I decided to unwind at a quiet bar. Isn't Someone Like You a lovely song? I absolutely adore Adele's voice, said the handsome young man who struck up a conversation with me at the bar. He had fair skin and a dazzling smile, but he wasn't my type. In response to his attempt at small talk, I made some random gestures with my hands. The young man was stunned. Are you mute? I smiled and nodded, and he left with a look of disappointment. I was content to enjoy the music in peace for a while longer. But soon, another person sat down beside me. A gin and tonic, my favorite drink, appeared in front of me. I was about to gesture a refusal when a lazy chuckle came from the booth. I looked up to see Stefan. He was leaning against the bar in a white shirt, the top few buttons undone, smiling like a playboy. Have a drink if you're tired of gesturing, he said. I remained silent. I picked up the glass and decided to take the initiative. Even if I've broken up with Neville Payton, I'm not planning on getting with you. Stefan clicked his tongue and retorted. What's all this talk about getting with someone? How crude. What a hypocrite. The first time this bastard met me, the first thing he said was, "Do you want to get with me?" And now he thinks it's crude? Stefan was a senior at my university. 1 year ahead of me, he was quite the cad. We first met at the university pool. At the time, I was a novice swimmer trying to learn during the quiet end-of-term period. Stefan was there too. I accidentally started drowning, and he rescued me. As I recovered, just as I was about to thank him, he looked me up and down and suddenly said, "Would you like to get with me?" Confused, I waited as he patiently explained, "I'll pay you to be my girlfriend." Back then, before Nancy and I started our studio, I wasn't interested in money. I cursed at him, "You must be dreaming." And I continued to berate him every time I saw him until he left for Germany. Due to our different social circles, we lost touch after that. Years passed, and after I started dating Neville, he took me to a gathering with his friends. At the dinner table, I saw Stefan again. His character hadn't improved. He tried to steal me away behind Neville's back. He has an old flame. "Don't date him, be with me instead," he said. In the cramped bathroom, the light fell on his frowning yet handsome face. Time really does change people. Even dogs learn to speak like humans. But I don't like dogs. I rejected him again. No, I love him. After that, he stopped asking, and I treated him like a stranger. when Neville mentioned in our WhatsApp group that he'd break up with me if I brought up marriage. Stefan vaguely asked Neville in the group to give him advance notice if they broke up. He was still worried I couldn't let go of Neville. After Elsie returned to the UK, he even made a PowerPoint presentation about Neville's affair with her and sent it to me. Now I've moved to City S, and he's followed me here. With only 2 days off a week, he's always hovering around me. I raised an eyebrow and asked him teasingly, "Do you fancy me?" Stefan nodded. "What do you like about me?" Stefan's gaze moved from my face to my chest and then to my legs. I was stunned. "That's so shallow." Stefan was silent for a moment, as if remembering something, then chuckled. "Well, your doggy paddle when you couldn't swim was quite attractive too." Just as I was about to scold him, he added, "Plus, you're beautiful. You have a fatal physiological attraction for me. The moment I saw you, I knew I wanted to die in your arms." I rubbed the goosebumps on my arms and summarized, "You dirty scoundrel, you just want to sleep with me." Stefan was silent, then nodded. The dim lights of the pub made everything feel hazy. Looking at his tall figure, handsome face, and every elegant movement. This time, I didn't scold him. I nodded and asked, "So, do you want to get with me?" Stefan was taken aback. Then his face turned red. He nodded and asked shyly, "Starting tonight?" I took him back to my flat in City S. That night, I treated him like a dog. He eagerly accepted everything. I wiped the sweat from his brow, enjoying his attentions. Exhausted, he held me in his arms. With a hoarse, satisfied voice, he said, "I'm sure I can't live without you." I don't particularly fancy Stefan, but he's quite presentable, and his service mindset is stronger than Neville's. Though he can be a bit of a prat at times, I'm magnanimous enough to let it slide. I won't hold it against him. A generous woman always overlooks trivial matters. Like when Elsie added me on WhatsApp and made her relationship with Neville official on her status. Stefan, not to be outdone, pestered me to take a photo of us holding hands. He sneakily posted it on his status with the caption, "Years of longing fulfilled." He even made sure to tag Neville in the comments. When I saw it, I just smiled. I wasn't angry, I rather enjoy when he schemes for my attention. Later, I reflected on whether I had fallen for him. The telly was playing The Crow at the time. It dawned on me then. I didn't love him, I just wanted to be queen. I relish the way people go to great lengths to please me. Especially Stefan Cargill. After a year in City S, the branch office finally found a suitable person to take charge. I was able to return to City A. On the day I returned to City A, Stefan was on his way back from a business trip. I dragged my suitcase alone and took a taxi to the largest shopping center in the city. Today was Stefan's mother's birthday. Having already met his parents, I felt I should prepare a gift for her. As I was leaving the store after choosing a present, I ran into Neville at the corner. He stared at me in shock, his eyes burning with intensity. Neville looked around and, noticing no one was with me, sighed in relief. "You can't match Stefan's family background. Has he dumped you already?" I found his meddling annoying and rolled my eyes. "We've broken up." "It's none of your business." I quickly walked away with the gift, but he grabbed my wrist. Neville's eyes were dark, feigning concern. "I just don't want you to get hurt by him." I found it laughable. The only one who had ever hurt me was him. Yet after our breakup, he claimed to be worried about others hurting me. So what? I sneered. "Sophia, let's get back together. Stefan never intended to marry you. Today is his mother's birthday. If he wanted to marry you, he would definitely bring you to the family dinner. Clearly, he doesn't have that." Before Neville could finish, a deep male voice interrupted from ahead. "Neville, have you no morals, trying to steal your mate's girlfriend in public?" I looked up. It was Stefan. He walked past Neville to my side, picking up the gift box with one hand and wrapping his arm around my waist with the other. Neville's eyes darkened, and he laughed bitterly. "Who's stealing whose girlfriend here?" Stefan replied lazily, "You are." With that, he turned with me in his arms and whispered, Darling, there are many dishes you love at the birthday dinner. You must be hungry, let's hurry back. I nodded, letting him lead me forward. As we passed Neville, Stefan gave him a look of utter contempt. He mouthed a silent loser to Neville. Leaving Neville behind, he smiled and kissed my cheek, pointedly saying, "Darling, I'm not the kind of loser who doesn't know how to love. Or can't even make decisions about his own marriage." Seeing him so smug, I brought up his old words. "Do you want to get with me?" Stefan's expression froze completely. Humph, my memory is so good. In the second year of my relationship with Stefan, I turned 30. My mom called me early one morning. "Sophia, when are you and Stefan planning to get married?" "Stefan doesn't have any plans to propose to me at the moment," I replied, just as I had 2 years ago. My mom choked a bit, then tentatively asked, "Well, should we find you a new boyfriend then?" "Mom, can't I just not get married?" I argued with my mom for half an hour before finally hanging up in frustration. Stefan pitifully wrapped his arms around me. "Our mom's wrongly accusing me." "I did propose." I nodded, absent-mindedly patting his head. Stefan wasn't having it. He kissed my fingertips, working his way up and burying his face in the crook of my neck. He glanced at me, gave a little suck, and nuzzled me relentlessly. Finally, when I couldn't take it anymore, he dropped his pitiful act and resorted to underhanded tactics to force an answer out of me. "Will you marry me, Sophia? Why aren't you saying anything?" After a long while, I closed my eyes and leaned back against his chest. I gave a slight nod and said, "All right." I wasn't opposed to marriage, especially not to someone like Stefan, who was talented, handsome, and wealthy. A good marriage can be an asset for a woman. Marrying Stefan, even if it didn't last forever, I could ensure that what I gained would outweigh what I lost. There are no truly right choices in this world. What I needed to do was work hard and make my initial choice the right one.